Chapter 5, Feeling of Hope. Naruto was having the best moment of his life. He was talking to his new friends, and for the first time in his life. Their parents weren't telling them to stay away from him or telling him to not talk to them. When he met his godfather 6 days ago, Naruto was pleased to know that he wasn't alone, that he had someone to call family, and wasn't a demon as everyone called him. When Togeji told him that his parents didn't abandon him, but loved him, Naruto felt happier, but now he had friends. Why would you wanted to become Hokage? He heard Shikamaru asking him. Naruto grinned. Because then people of the village will finally acknowledge me, he answered. Shikamaru was thinking about what he meant when he said that he wanted people to acknowledge him. Choji just kept eating chips, while Ino smiled at him. That's a good dream, Ino commented, smiling at Naruto. What about you three? What are your dreams? Naruto asked, turning his head to three of them. Shikamaru shrugged his shoulders. To sleep, and everyone's sweet dropped behind their heads. Naruto was thinking, what kind of dream is that? He wondered, but at the same time though it was excellent. Lazy as always, Ino thought with annoyance. While Choji smiled typical Shikamaru, he thought knowing Shikamaru was lazy. Naruto then turned his head to Choji. I'm not sure. I haven't thought about it, Choji answered, and Naruto understood, and they still were very young to think about what they would do when they grew up. Naruto then turned to Ino. Well, I want to be a good kunoichi like my daddy, she said happily. Naruto liked the dream and told her that it was a perfect dream. They keep on walking, but the more they walk, the more people start sending Naruto glares, but not daring to do anything since Jiraiya-sama and 3 respectful clan heads were there with 3 innocent children talking with the demon brat. The adults notice immediately, and so does Naruto, whose smile disappears and turns into a frown. Shikamaru, on the other hand, could see something is not right with the way they were looking at them. Ino started feeling uncomfortable and walked closer to her dad, and so did Choji. Naruto looked around and felt bad that maybe his presence here was making things worse, and he felt tears in his eyes. Jiraiya had enough and unleashed his Ki at the maximum, that made many people drop unconscious on the ground, and some were having a hard time breathing. After 2 minutes, no one was looking at Naruto anymore, and they soon reached their destination. Ino asked her father why people started staring at them like that, and he just told her that they were stupid people. Shikamaru didn't seem bothered by their glares. While Naruto was keeping his head down and thinking that it was all his fault, and his new friends would soon abandon him like all the other kids of his age, he then felt a hand on his shoulder. He looked up and saw Shikaka-sama looking at him with a warm smile. Don't worry about them, Naruto, they're just foolish people, he said, and Naruto managed to smile. Here we are, he heard Togeji said and pointing at a restaurant. Naruto looked at the name Ichiraku Ramen and wondered what that was. Come on. All are on me, his godfather stated, and put a hand on Naruto's head and rubbed his red hair. Choji looked to like the idea. They were about to walk inside when the adults turned their heads to their left. Naruto turned as well when he saw Hokage Jiji walking towards them. Hokage-sama, what a pleasant surprise, Shikaku said, and took a step forward, and so did Jiraiya. I saw you with my crystal ball walking to this place, so I decided that I needed a break from my war with paperwork, the old man said with a chuckle at the end. Hokage then looked at the little kids. Ino was hiding behind her father. She knew who the Hokage was and was nervous. Choji had stopped eating and for once looked serious, while Shikamaru just looked bored. The older man was about to say something when Hokage-sama, is good to see you again, Naruto yelled and jumped to hug him. The Kage returned the hug, and Jiraiya smiled at the scene while the kids wondered how Naruto knew the Hokage-sama so well. Naruto usually would call him either Hokage Jiji or Jiji. Still, Jiraiya had told him always to show respect in front of others, so Naruto decided to call him with respect. Naruto, my boy, how are you doing? The Hokage asked and looked at Naruto, who looked much brighter and happier than when he saw him in the orphanage. "I'm good, Hokage-sama. Toji is giving me many books to read is amazing," Naruto replied excitedly. Hokage laughed at the nickname while Shikaku chuckled, and so did Inoichi and Choza. At the same time, Ino and Choji were wondering how reading books could be amazing. And Shikamaru silently agreed with Naruto. "Oh, Toji," the Hokage looked at Jiraiya grinning. "Well, that's good, Naruto," he said and pulled him to the ground, and they together walked inside the restaurant. Walking inside, Naruto saw a man with a girl older than him behind the desk. "Oh, Hokage-sama, is good to have you here," the man said respectfully, looking at the Hokage. "Is nothing, do you have enough ramen for all of us?" "Of course," he replied happily, but then his eyes went to Naruto, and he froze. He looked at his face. Red hair and bright blue eyes like the ocean, the man thought with a smile, seeing the child of his two favorite customers. For a moment, Naruto thought that the man would start glaring at him, but he was looking at Naruto with longing, and that confused him. "What's your name, little buddy?" the man asked with a warm smile. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki, future Hokage," he responded, grinning. "Well, take a seat, future Hokage," he said with a smile, and soon everyone took a seat. Hokage seated close to Jiraiya, Inoichi, Shikaku and Choza. At the same time, Naruto was close to Shikamaru, Ino and Choji. "Have you been here before?" Naruto asked, looking at his new friends. Shikamaru shook his head, and so did Ino. "I have been maybe 3 times, Choji replied, and couldn't wait to eat. "Naruto, you said you like to read, what do you read?" Shikamaru asked, interested. "I read about chakra, jutsu, ninjutsu, and I have started reading about clans of Konoha and their bloodlines. I will soon start reading about genjutsu and fuinjutsu," Naruto said happily. Shikamaru looked interested, while Ino thought that it was a waste of time. Choji didn't look to either care or not care. "Don't you think it's a bit early to worry about ninja stuff?" "I will wait until I go to the academy," Ino asked. He turned his blue eyes to her. "I don't have anything else to do in the orphanage. So I read and I really like to read," Naruto replied. Ino raised her eyebrows in confusion while Shikamaru nodded in agreement with what Naruto said about reading. "My godfather even promised me that he would teach me how to unlock my chakra when I read all the books he gave me," Naruto added happily and glanced at Toji, who was talking with Hokage Gigi. When Shikaku heard Naruto's response, he turned to Jiraiya. "Don't you think it's a bit early to teach Naruto about all that? Shikamaru likes to read, but teaching how to unlock chakra and all that comes after that. I will wait until Shikamaru reaches 5 years old to teach him that," Shikaku asked, thinking that Naruto was way too young to be taught that. He needed to enjoy his childhood and not spend time training. He will have a lot of time to do that once he enters the academy. Jiraiya thought about it for a moment, but quickly shook his head. "What you said might be true, Shikaku-san, but the way I see how people look at Naruto. He doesn't have anyone there and needs to do something to spend his time. And he will have to worry about the Akatsuki when he grows up," Jiraiya thought the last part. Shikaku understood what he meant and was still slightly angry that Hokage didn't let him adopt Naruto. The Hokage frowned at Jiraiya's answer. He knew Naruto would need to be prepared. Of course, none of the children could hear them except Naruto, who could somehow listen to what his Toji said. Not to anyone's else knowledge, the seal in his stomach started glowing red for a few seconds and then stopped. The adults had ordered ramen for themselves and their children. Naruto was waiting for ramen and was talking with Shikamaru and Choji, while Ino was thinking if eating ramen would get her fat. "Naruto, how do you know the Hokage?" Shikamaru asked. From what he saw, he knew Naruto must know very well to jump like that and hug him in front of so many people. "Oh, well, he visits me every month in the orphanage. He even tells me stories sometimes about the first Hokage and second Hokage," Naruto replied like it was no big deal. Shikamaru was confused. Why would Hokage visit him every month? This is so troublesome. He thought and decided to stop thinking about it. Oh wow, that's amazing. I heard from father that Hokage is the strongest in the village, Ino replied excitedly. But in her eyes, the Hokage didn't look like much, or maybe it was because of old age. Yes, Hokage-sama is very strong. I can feel he's stronger than anyone else around here. Perhaps even stronger than Toji, Naruto said and glanced at Hokage Gigi. Shikamaru was about to ask what he meant by feeling their power. I hope you like it, the man who worked in the restaurant said, and brought them ramen. Naruto looked at the food, and to him, it looked delicious. Choji started eating immediately. Eat while is still hot, Naruto, his godfather said, and Naruto tried a little at first, but then his eyes turned to stars. Wow, he shouted and quickly started eating like there was no tomorrow. Within a minute, the ramen was gone and in front of Naruto was an empty bowl. This is very delicious, Chief-sama, Naruto stated, looking at the chief. The man laughed. No need for that, kid. And my name is Tuchi and this one is I am, he introduced himself and looked down at his daughter, looking at Naruto with a smile. Hello, I am San, my name is Naruto. The girl noticed the way Naruto smiled and his red hair. It reminded her of a woman with the same hair color that had visited their place before. She turned to her father. Tuchan, he looks like Kushina-san, she whispered, looking up at her father. He nodded at her sadly. Don't mention it now, her father replied quietly. You can eat as much as you want, Naruto-kun, Jiraiya said, and he looked at him in awe. For more bowls for Naruto, Jiraiya ordered, and Naruto couldn't wait for the food. After 10 more bowls, Naruto wasn't hungry anymore, and everyone was surprised to see him eat so much. He had eaten even more than Choji, who thought not to lose next time. This was amazing, thank you Toji, Naruto thanked his godfather. Jiraiya paid for the food for everyone, and now they were staying in front of the Ichiraku ramen. I think it's time for us to leave, Shikaka said, and Shikamaru looked to agree, and so did Inoichi and Choza. Naruto frowned and slightly lowered his head. Shikaka noticed that. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, you will get to play with Shikamaru again. Whenever you want, he stated. Naruto's face brightened, and he smiled at Shikaku. Troublesome, Shikamaru murmured. I hope we meet again, Shikamaru. Perhaps next time we can cloud watch together, he suggested, and Shikamaru looked to like the idea. Naruto then turned to Ino. I hope to meet again, Ino-san, he said, and she just nodded her head and kept her face away. See you next time, Naruto, Choji said and walked away with his father. Shikaku and Inoichi said their goodbyes to the Hokage, Jiraiya, and Naruto. Jiraiya was pleased that Naruto had new friends now. Hokage looked up and saw that it was close to evening. Naruto, we will meet again soon, the Hokage said to the redhead, who couldn't stop smiling. He turned to Hokage Gigi. Of course, and soon I will take that hat, Databeo, Naruto stated and pointed the finger at the hat. Sarutobi couldn't help but feel proud of Naruto. I have no doubt, Naruto-kun. And I'm waiting for that day, he said proudly and hugged him. After that, Hokage returned to his office with Naruto waving his hand at him. Now was only Jiraiya and Naruto standing at the road. Naruto-kun, I want to show you something else, Jiraiya said and offered Naruto to climb on his back. He nodded and climbed on his back. Hold tight, he advised, and they shunsin away. Naruto blinked his eyes, not understanding where he was right now. He looked around and noticed they were very high. Wow. Can you teach me how to do that, Toji? Naruto asked, looking at him with big puppy eyes. Jiraiya growled. Soon, he said, and Naruto jumped in excitement. His Toji started walking, and Naruto followed him. Here we are, his godfather stated, and Naruto jumped to the ground and followed him. Soon they reached the edge, and Naruto could see the whole village from up here. The sunset made the village and everything look beautiful. Naruto enjoyed the view and was glad that he wasn't alone here. This view is amazing, Naruto said was lying in the grass close to Jiraiya. After minutes of silence, Jiraiya sighed and decided to tell Naruto. I know you're sad about something, Toji. Did I do something wrong? Naruto asked, afraid that it was his fault. He had felt sadness coming from him the whole day. Jiraiya quickly shook his head and put a hand on his shoulder. No, Naruto. You have done nothing wrong, Jiraiya said sadly and keeping his head low, not bearing to look at Naruto. Do you remember when I told you that I worked outside the village to make sure the bad guys wouldn't come to attack the village? Jiraiya asked. Naruto remembered that he told him that on the second day, when Naruto asked him where he had been all this time, and he told him that he needed to be outside the village for a long time to chase away the bad guys. He nodded. I will need to leave tomorrow, Naruto, he said sadly, and Naruto felt tears on his eyes, and then rolling down his cheek. Can I come with you? He asked with a tiny voice. No, Naruto is too dangerous out there, but I swear I will listen to everything you say. Please, Naruto begged and hugged his Gigi arm, not wanting him to go away and leave him alone. Jiraiya felt his heart was breaking. Naruto was sobbing in his arm and holding it tightly. Naruto, you won't be alone. I will return as soon as I can. Don't forget about your new friends, Jiraiya said quietly and put a hand on his shoulder. There was complete silence again for a few minutes, and Naruto kept crying his eyes out. How long? Naruto suddenly asked when he stopped crying. Jiraiya wanted to say that he would return very soon, but he knew it would take at least 5 months, and if he lied, that would break Naruto's heart. Jiraiya turned to Naruto and hugged him tightly. 5 months, 5 months, Naruto, he said quietly. A toad will come to you every month to give you new books for you to read, all right? Jiraiya said, and Naruto nodded his head against his shoulder. Now, once I return I will tell you about your mother, Jiraiya said. Thank you, Toji, Naruto said quietly and stayed like that for 30 minutes. I love you, Toji. I love you too, Naruto-kun. In a forest. Ka-chan, where are we going? A little girl with red hair was asking her mother as they kept walking through the forest. It has been raining for 2 days now. Since her father died from the shinobis, it had started to rain. The ground was muddy and her feet were all aching. Soon, Asha, very soon we will go home, her mother replied, turned to her daughter, and started walking towards her daughter, who was 4 years old. Asha saw her mother picking her up in her arms. Asha's eyes focused on a weird drawing that was in her mother's right hand. Her mother made a few hand seals with her right hand. Uzumaki-style rainforest, her mother said, and it started raining even more. We will soon find our home, Asha, her mother promised with a smile. Her purple eyes look at her daughter with love. Soon, Asha, soon.
Alright, guys, that's gonna be part 3 of What If Naruto Was the Red Flash. Um, already, y'all, so, I posted this video just like an hour ago, right? And it already has 28 likes. So as soon as it hit 50, I'll post another part. Not not the second, but like you'll get a part you'll get a part 11 as soon as you hit 50 likes, if that makes sense. Anyways, that's part 3 of What If Naruto Was a Red Flash, and I'll see you guys in the next part. uh 20 likes for part 4. And I'm just gonna say I have listened to a few more chapters and this starts getting really good. So if you're not interested yet, just hold on. All right, see ya.